Hi there, my name is Ricardo. I'm part of Zoom's marketing team. Thanks for watching this video. In this session, what we're going to do is go over how to schedule a Zoom webinar. So I've already logged into my Zoom account. I came into the webinars section, and I'm going to choose the option schedule a webinar. So I get the form to come up for me, and I simply need to go ahead and complete all of these fields. So really simple to do. For the sake of time here, I'm just going to come up with a sample webinar for us. And then I already have copied a previous description, so I'm going to go ahead and paste that in for the sake of time. Alrighty, and then notice that, of course, a couple of cool things that I can do here. Well, number one, I can certainly leverage a previously scheduled webinar. If it's been saved as a template within my account, I can certainly leverage that as well. So I'm not going to do that, but just wanted to showcase that for you. So, and I'm certainly going to show you how you can save this respective webinar or your webinars as a template. Certainly an option for you. Okay, so let's get into the next section of scheduling, the when. So when am I going to be having this webinar? So let's just set this up for the first Friday of the month. In that case, for August of 2020, it's going to be the 7th. So I'm going to set that up. And then the time, I'm just going to say, let's have our marketing all hands webinar at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm going to set it to be for 1 hour, and it is being held in Pacific time. And let's just say that, in fact, it was going to be a recurring webinar. I'm going to go ahead and check this option so we could take a look at what are the details. So it's not going to be a daily webinar. I'm certainly going to set it up to be a monthly webinar. And going forward, I want to make sure that it is going to be the first Friday of every month. So instead of it being a respective day, I'm going to choose the second option, which is first Friday of the month. If I have a specific end date, I can certainly set that up, or I could say I'm only going to have a webinar series, say, for 3 months. So in this case, because it's already set to be the first Friday of every month, I'm going to set it to 3. So we're going to have 3 occurrences, first Friday of every month, a marketing all hands webinar. I can certainly determine if I need this respective webinar to be posted on our public event list, so that's certainly an option for me. I am going to go ahead and enable registration. I want to make sure that the appropriate people are going to be joining this webinar, so I'm going to have registration take place beforehand. Notice that my registration options are, I can allow attendees to register once, and then they can attend the occurrences after that. The second option would be attendees need to register for each occurrence in order to attend, and I'm going to select that option. I want to make sure that you're coming to every single webinar and at the same time that you've registered for each session. My last option would be attendees register once and can choose 1 or more occurrences to attend. So that's certainly an option for me to determine. With a webinar passcode, of course, this is going to ensure that not only with registration in place, it also ensures that you must know the password in order to come on in. So I'm going to keep that set, but a couple of extra details. If I want to change this password to my own, I can certainly do that. So I can override the auto-generated password. I can come up with my own numerical or an alpha-numerical password. When it comes to video, we're certainly going to be leveraging video. The host will be broadcasting themselves on video. The panelists will be on video, but the participants will not be broadcasting video. Alrighty. When it comes to audio, I want to make sure that people are able to have some flexibility, so they can either call into the session if they prefer. They could certainly join by computer audio if that's an option that they also prefer. When it comes to my webinar options, I'm going to select a couple of features here. I'm certainly going to enable Q&A. Q&A is a great feature. This allows me to have colleagues acting as panelists answer questions via the Q&A panel. So a lot different than my chat panel, but my participants would be able to send questions. They go directly to panelists. Panelists can select which questions they want to answer, and they can certainly answer those questions live or privately. A private response would go directly to them as it's typed. So it would go directly to the participant. Okay, a couple of extra things that I'm going to enable is certainly a practice session. Because this is going to be a series, and this is going to be, say, a first time that we've done this, I want to make sure that my panelists have their presentations ready to go. Panelists are certainly able to share content and present material to the audience. So if I have 5 panelists, we're going to have a practice session. So what this means is, come day of the webinar, I can start my webinar, say 15 minutes early, 30 minutes early, but we're in a practice session mode. We're not broadcasting to our audience just yet. We're more of behind the scenes. We're practicing our delivery. We're practicing and making sure that the slides and everything that we intend to share in that webinar is all set to go. So it's more of a behind the scenes, and then I'm paying attention to time. When it's showtime, I'm going to click on an option to broadcast, and then we are officially live. I'm also going to enable HD video for both anything that is being shared, and then on top of that, enable HD video for attendees. If you'd like to get some extra information on that, of course, there is a question mark as you are scheduling to get that extra detail. If I wanted only authenticated users to join, I can certainly check this option here. What that simply means is it's going to ensure that authentication profiles allow hosts to restrict participants who can join a meeting or a webinar to those who are logged into Zoom, and even restrict it to Zoom users whose email address uses a certain domain. So in that case, I'm certainly going to have this feature checked because this is an internal session. I can certainly request permission to unmute panelists, or if you are a panelist and I keep this box unchecked, you can certainly unmute yourself. I can have the session recorded automatically, so I'm going to check that option. We're not going to record the webinar directly to my computer system. I prefer to have this webinar recorded directly to my online Zoom account. So I'm going to choose the in-cloud option. Last but not least, I can have my alternate hosts set here. My alternate host would be internal people that I designate to start this webinar on my behalf. And then finally, I can have interpretation checked, and I can have that set to go for this webinar. So as I choose the option to schedule, we're going to now have the end result. So my webinar has officially been scheduled. And then as I scroll down here, I have the option to add the webinar to my Google Calendar, to Outlook or Yahoo. As I scroll even further, I have all of those settings that I had configured checked off and visible to me. I can certainly save this webinar as a template. So there's that option there. If I click on this, I can title the webinar whatever I'd like as a template. And then I can also save that recurrence as well, and then leverage this template in the future. I'm not going to do that in this scenario. I can certainly edit the webinar. As you can imagine, it takes me back to the original scheduling process. When it comes time to start the webinar, with practice session enabled, I can start this webinar, say 20, 30 minutes early. And then again, panelists are able to join. Participants are not able to join. So if they happen to be clicking on their join link to come into that webinar, they're not able to join. They're seeing a prompt on their screen letting them know that the host has yet to start the webinar. Meanwhile, on the back end, we're actually practicing delivery, making sure we're all set to go. As I scroll down here, I have some settings that I could manage, right? So because this is a webinar and I've enabled registration, I can go ahead and start to invite panelists. If I click on this edit option, I have the ability to enter their name. I can enter their email address or Zoom rooms, and then I can click save. It's going to send an invitation to my respective panelists, informing them that they are able to come on in into my webinar as an acting panelist. Each invitation is exclusive to each panelist, so panelists do not want to share their invitation. It is unique. Okay, what else can I do? So as I scroll down here, because there is an option for inviting registrants to register, there is an option here to copy the invitation. I can send the invitation to myself in case I want to see what that looks like. I can set up my registration criteria. I can click on edit, and let's go in there and actually see what's available for me. So with registration in place, I can have registration to be set to automatically approve, or I can manually approve registration. So as the host, people register, it's being sent to me. I can come into my online account and manage registrations from there, or I can simply have an email sent to me indicating to me so many people have registered. Either way, I need to log into my account and manage registration, right? So I can have that box checked there. Other options, as you can see, I can close registration after the event date. I can restrict the number of registrants. I can allow attendees to join from multiple devices, show social share buttons on the registration page, and my tracking pixel is certainly an option for me. All right. Now, in my email settings, a couple of extra things, right? So this is kind of like mission control. All of these sections are allowing me as the host to manage email settings, branding, polls, Q&A, integration into email applications, as well as live streaming. So I just wanted to simply showcase how simple it is to schedule a webinar, and then down at the bottom how you can manage those respective sections. Let's take a look at, now that we've scheduled this series, where does it appear? So if I click on my webinars section here, you could see there are my 3 official upcoming webinars. The first one is going to take place on August 7th. The next first Friday of the month will be September 4th, and then after that, Friday, October 2nd. And then the series comes to a conclusion. So it is not time for me to start any of these sessions, but I can certainly start in advance if I wanted to this webinar, the first webinar, right, of the series. So I'm not going to do that, but of course, there is my start button. So I can certainly log into my account on Friday, August 7th at 2 p.m. or 15 minutes prior for a practice session, click on start, and my panelists start to come on in. So with that being said, I hope that that was really nice and simple for you in order to learn how to simply schedule a Zoom webinar. We certainly appreciate you as a customer, and thank you so much for watching this video. Have fun, everyone.